Wait,
Yeah, I was trying to do it.
yeah.
On
I'm
Sunday
trying to,
night.
yeah, I want to meet everyone.
No, all I got was the 2 emails back and forth, but no.
Because I tried to do the
invite.
listserv, because I didn't know if the listserv would work for a Google
Yeah, I guess that's
invite chat, so.
So where
it
were
must
you?
not.
Where were you? Nice. We have the guy in our apartment with the data center. For 11 years.
Okay, so there's a charger. Is there even an outlet
Oh, yeah.
that's open?
Oh, seriously?
Okay, yeah, there is.
There is? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Is your
Talk more about
also
these
locked?
books.
Yeah. I'll run up and grab it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
It might be kind of a pain to get.
Oh, no, mine's the same way. It's like
Okay.
waiting with all the fingers.
Yeah.
Hi, how's it going? Morning, guys. Just sign in, the flyers.
Hey, good to see you guys. I'm gonna grab a cookie tea before they're all gone.
Leslie, you want me to send that email out to everybody with the flyers?
Yeah. Yeah, that'll work.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I did.
Write your name down.
I haven't been able to.
I've already scheduled. I've already scheduled time for that. Yeah. There's a time on Sunday. Today.
Yeah, it's just.
What's up?
Good, how are you? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. SMGP.
Okay.
Pues en realidad todo menos The Harvest of Zero. O sea, me leí el capítulo que te dije de Terror Comics y ya. O sea, el resto todo.
I'm even out.
It looks like that.
So,
¿Ya lo leíste?
I mean, you should sit in the very. It's this place, so it looks like we have cycle things.
yeah.
How was DC?
No, that's this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kayla fixed it up.
Oh, maybe.
Because I think she went to the concert on Friday.
Oh. Concert doing food.
Who's at the concert today?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't talked to her.
Yeah,
I'm not one to know. She was like cowgirl it up. Well, good. Maybe she will be around.
Maybe.
I would like it.
Let's go stylist sometimes.
Do you really want me to say that?
You don't mind. Because otherwise it looks like he's talking to an empty room.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why I didn't sit over here, because I didn't want to be down here.
Well, I can maybe come sit with you too.
So which one?
Have you guys talked to anyone else that was thinking about big ideas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 2 more at least.
More? And then reach it?
Yeah, we have one more.
I think I knew who that was.
Do they not want to get done? Because I was trying to figure out if I should have another meeting for like a mingling session, if you have people you want to add to your team.
Yeah.
Like a discipline that you might be missing. So I'm trying to get a hold of like the engineering department for anyone who has like techie kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For them in probably next week.
If they're doing
So I didn't know if you guys already have teams made or if you're still looking for it.
Does it all have to be in the same school?
Nope. That'd be, no, you just have to have one person from
Yeah.
Texas A&M.
It's 199.
191.
Because our last year's team that won, we had one person from
Oh,
Texas
okay.
A&M. And Philip's gonna go into all this, so one person from Texas A&M,
Yeah, I don't
another
know
girl
where you didn't put my personal email. Like, that's sorry.
We're gonna send this out to Mr.
And they met on another project. So, the thing is that the contest is only open for University of California. And the HESN universities. There's only certain categories within it that HESN is open to.
Right.
And that's what, yeah, if you go on the website, you'll see there's more categories than just these. But we've got the important ones. That's right. Oh, see, like they're showing them.
Well, I had a class like this.
Where's Max?
I got rid of that.
Sure.
That's the first
I don't think you did but I know this one was
It's a huge thing.
Well, you have two battery chargers up there.
Oh yeah, sorry. One's for my personal computer and one's for my work computer.
I think I'm grabbing the right one. We will
Yes,
see.
silver.
Okay. Okay. I got up there and I saw them. It's like,
Should've
there's such
said
a
that. I
huge
didn't
mess,
know it.
and then it's like if I grabbed the wrong one.
They didn't open like in the English courses.
Oh,
They
the
didn't
language.
open, yeah, so they didn't open advanced Spanish.
Oh, right.
But why?
Juan would be here too.
That's one.
We're missing our conduct intern representation.
Holding strong with it.
Anyway. Jonah, you're our only intern representation.
You want to wait a few more minutes, Leslie?
You said there's another person you know.
They are, but if they're late, they're late.
Let's give it 2 or 3 more minutes and we'll go.
Yeah.
If it's anything, with Berkeley time, we always say is 10 or 15 minutes past. So
Makes it difficult for when you re-enter the professional world. People don't like that.
I have another person on my team, and she's running a little bit late, but she's coming.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, she hasn't been able to get out of class.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. We were trying to decide if we should have it at lunch, or you guys have push for a break, or we should have it at
Oh, she said she's.
Yeah, okay, that's good. When we have a small crowd, we have a diverse crowd. I like that already. And you can count on this too, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Jessica, I should get Aaron here. Human elephant conflict. There's a category on it. That could be really cool. Get her the night her and like maybe an engineer or something together. Awesome. No, that's perfect. So that's what I was thinking. Have like a session where we get a lot something going on in the afternoon, maybe.
Are we doing
Well,
Leslie?
Philip, yeah, let's go ahead and start.
Do you want to give a brief introduction and then toss it over to me?
Sure. So welcome everyone. I'm really excited to see everyone. So Philip, just to let you know, a bunch of these, well, almost everyone here, well, we have a couple new faces, came to our event last Wednesday where we had a student informational. So I tried to give a brief overview of all the different things we have going on, because we have our own SMGP, and then we wanted to promote the blind spots, and
Great.
then then we also had the Virunga showing. We did the movie Virunga about conflict
Okay.
in Virunga National Park in Democratic Republic of Congo. So we had a huge event for that on Thursday. So we promoted a couple other things. You guys probably remember better than me at this point. Tired.
It's been busy.
Yes, very busy. So I'm really happy to see you guys here. This is the second year that we have worked with UC Berkeley and Philip and promoting the competition. And we're really excited because last year we had a winner. And so we want to continue that. So I'll throw it to you now, Philip. You can give them like all the nuts and bolts of what the competition is.
Terrific. Thank you, Leslie. So I'm Philip Denny. I manage the Big Ideas contest here at UC Berkeley. I'm with Jenna Hahn, who's a graduate student who's getting her master's in development practice here at UC Berkeley. And she's our lead graduate student who helps us with everything we do here at Big Ideas. As Leslie mentioned, there's sort of big shoes to fill this year with Texas A&M. Last year, there was a project led by Wen Chen, who was a doctoral student at Texas A&M, and not only did they win in their category for Big Ideas, which was the global poverty category, they actually attended Pitch Day here at UC Berkeley last May and took home our grand prize. So they were the winner of all winners in Big Ideas last year, and they came from Texas A&M. They had a project that focused on, it was a child nutrition program in far western Nepal to prevent stunting and to improve children's ability to attend school and do things like that. So it was a terrific project from Texas A&M last year, and we're hoping that we'll see many more projects like that this year from Texas A&M. But Big Ideas is a contest that's existed on the Berkeley campus since 2006. It's one of the oldest student innovation competitions in the U.S. And what we're seeking to do is really support students and help them along the path of ideation. When they get ideas in their head to promote social impact, we want to help them along the way. So Big Ideas provides funding, support, and encouragement to interdisciplinary teams of graduate and undergraduate students who have creative solutions to pressing social challenges. We have numerous categories. We always have different categories every year in Big Ideas. Some stay the same, some get revised, some are completely new. But what I want to do is quickly run you through a PowerPoint presentation just to give you a little bit of background about Big Ideas, who we are, what we do. But sort of the real core of Big Ideas is that we support not just early stage interventions, we want to support the earliest stage. So this is really about the process of getting ideas out of your head onto paper for the first time. If you already have a prototype, if you're already starting to scale, sometimes you can have a prototype, but if you're already starting to scale and you have investors and you're investor ready at this point, probably not the competition for you. We're really looking for new, original, creative ideas from students. So with that, I want to just launch into a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to go to a screen share here. And hopefully, if everything works out, you should see presentation in a second. Is everybody looking at the presentation now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, it actually worked. So as I mentioned, Big Ideas is an annual innovation competition aimed at providing funding, support, and encouragement to interdisciplinary teams of graduate and undergraduate students who have big ideas aimed at solving important social challenges. As I mentioned, we started the competition in 2006, but more recently, we've added eligibility to include campuses across the U.S. and now this year, Uganda and Australia. So there's different eligibility depending on what campuses you're coming from, but now we have about 250,000 students competing in Big Ideas, and we have 18 different universities competing in Big Ideas. So it's really sort of blown up a little bit, but there's more funding, more categories, more opportunities for students along the way as well. So the categories for this year's competition, you'll see some that are highlighted in red and some that are not. The ones that are highlighted in red are the categories that are open to students in the Higher Education Solutions Network, those campuses which include Texas A&M. So anything you see in red is a category that you can apply to as a lead student, and your team is eligible in the Big Ideas category, in those Big Ideas categories this year. Now for those other categories, what you would have to do is you'd have to find another student at an eligible campus if you wanted to apply. So for instance, all of these 10 categories are open to students at UC Berkeley. So if you wanted to apply to the Information Technology for Society category, you would have to partner with a student from UC Berkeley. To find out eligibility, what you have to do is you have to go onto our website. Under each of these categories, we list the campuses that are eligible to apply, and you can find that on our website, and we'll show you that in a minute. But the categories that are open to Texas A&M students this year are Conflict and Development, which is a category that's sponsored by the Conflict and Development Center at Texas A&M. Thank you, Leslie. The Food Systems Innovation category, Global Health, a new category this year that's sponsored by USAID called Mobiles for Reading. And we'll go over all these in a second. And then Open Data for Development. That's a new category that's sponsored by our partners at William & Mary and the AID Data Center over there. So those are the categories, but let's go into them briefly. But first I want to turn it over to Leslie. And Leslie, can you go over the Conflict and Development category really quick?
Sure. So I'm really excited because, well, last year I really enjoyed working with Big Ideas, and I really wanted to have a category for us here. So there is a new category this year that's specifically about conflict and development, and this is just building on all the other student projects we've been working on, student internships, experiences with us. So we're really hoping that we can get some great teams together to look at conflict and how to mitigate, how to resolve conflict. And this is a super broad category. It can have anything to do, you know, a lot of you know that our 4 focal questions are looking at weak institutions, at food insecurity, natural resource management, like you saw at the film, and then the last one is, what am I forgetting? Youth, thank you, youth unemployment. And there's a lot of ways that you can combine all those 4 questions, but you can also think even broader. We're really wanting you to be super innovative and creative with your ideas for how to solve these problems. I threw in a couple, Jonah and I worked on this together, the draft. If you go on the website, you can see there's a couple ideas of maybe coming up with ideas for doing youth employment in refugee camps. How can you help people that are in refugee camps think of how they're going to get their life going when they're outside of the conflict situation? You could do something on a national park, like Virunga. Is there an idea you have based on the movie you saw on, hey, maybe there's some solutions for conserving the national park that'll help promote the development and peace of the area? So this one is, you know, I really want to have a Texas A&M winner for this one, but it's a brand new category and really excited about this one. So if you have any other questions, you can always come by my office or send me an email. But that's the new one, especially for conflict and development.
Yep, and when trying to draft this, as Leslie mentioned, we tried to do it as broadly as possible to allow for as many ideas as possible. So the example I like to put out there to students is we had a project last year that won in the category that we called human rights, promoting human rights, and that was a gang intervention program in Mexico, a gang and youth intervention and education program in Mexico. You know, ambiguous whether or not that would be, you know, a conflict-ridden state, but the area without certain that they were operating in the region was very heavy gang territory, and there was a lot of conflict. So that would be a great proposal for this category. You know, very broad. It doesn't necessarily have to focus on a developing country as long as the context could fit within a developing country. Isn't that correct, Leslie?
Yep.
Am I getting it right?
Yep. And I think Mexico is a great example and one that's very close to how we feel about things being on in Texas and all the problems we have with the border.
Yep, exactly.
We have a large Latino population of students that are really interested in doing projects in Central and South America. So that Mexico one's the perfect one for this category in my mind.
Perfect. Okay, so that's one of the categories that's open to Texas A&M. Let's go over some of the others. So the Food Systems Innovation category is a new and I think really exciting category that's sponsored by the UC Global Food Initiative that we have here throughout the UC system. It's looking to encourage the development of innovative solutions that address challenges and lead to improvements in the global food systems. So again, all these categories and the way we draft every category in Big Ideas is to keep it very broad. So go to the website if you're interested in any of these, but if you have an idea that's along these lines, it probably fits into a category. Global health, develop an action-oriented interdisciplinary project that would alleviate global health concerns among low-resource communities. There's the Mobiles for Reading, another new category this year, sponsored by USAID and the Global Development Lab in the World Vision All Children Reading Grand Challenge. And for that category, they want to develop novel mobile technologies to enhance early grade reading scores for early grade children in developing countries. That's about as narrow a category as we have, but I think we also have a lot of interest in sort of mobile innovation and education reading programs. And then last is the category I mentioned previously, open data for development. What we want there is students to leverage publicly available data sets to address challenges and solutions for the developing world. I should also go back and mention that for the Mobiles for Reading category, and for many of these categories, for most of these categories, you don't have to develop a new technology per se. If you can adapt an existing technology and apply that in a novel way that can promote social impact, that's just as good as developing a new technology. We're not looking for the next greatest widget. We're looking for new solutions. Okay, I want to preface this. I always launch into the video before I preface it. This is just our background Big Ideas video. There's going to be 3 different projects on there, and what I'm hoping folks take away from this is how very diverse the projects in the Big Ideas contest can be. We have projects that focus on service learning projects that are just student-based organizations going out there in their communities. We have students who are looking to work internationally and start their own NGOs. We have students who are looking to start their own commercial businesses that can promote some social good along the way. So there's many different types of projects in Big Ideas. These are just a few of them.
It's novel, it's unique.
Go back to the beginning.
What makes an idea big?
I think what makes an idea big is that it goes outside the normal boundaries.
I think what makes an idea big is its potential for its impact in the community.
It's novel, it's unique, it's challenging, it's exciting.
The Big Ideas program seed funds and encourages student innovation for a better planet.
Undergraduate students are rarely recognized as producing innovative, cutting-edge ideas.
You know, it doesn't take a lot of money. It doesn't take a lot of, you know, it doesn't take a 5-year PhD research project in order to do some of these things.
I heard about the Big Ideas program and it was brought to our attention as a group, and we thought, hey, this would be a really great opportunity to kind of get some
get the word out about our projects and see if we can get some support. And it ends up being much more than a grant because it gives you that confidence to go forward. The fact that there's other people in the room and other people at Cal that are reviewing this and thinking, hey, you should go for this.
Having it was like one of the best things for our project. It really got us off the ground at a point where we needed that extra inspiration.
Yeah, knowing that the campus is supporting projects like this and you have access to these resources has been very instrumental.
Just the fact that big ideas existed and seemed willing to fund a project like this gave us hope, because our budget for dental is actually like under $200 a semester. And we saved the residents of Berkeley like probably $50,000 to $100,000 just through the services we have.
Capitalize on the creativity of the students. Don't tell them the solution. Give them the opportunity and let them come up with it.
Disabuse ourselves. Students are just
We created a business plan. It really gave us really follow through on this and go on this.
Excuse me, if you're joining us, can you please keep your computer on mute? Feedback now. So please mute your microphone. Thank you.
Got that. The news that we had gotten. That's the first time we said, hey, follow our passion.
The power of is that experiment earlier. They don't need to wait to complete a PhD faculty. Try something new. Important. Otherwise, we wait generation waiting for the to have some capacity.
What makes it?
I think what makes an idea goes outside and it surpasses all there, sets a precedent for something.
Okay, so yeah, we got a little bit of feedback. Can everybody hear me okay?
We hear you fine here. The video is a little garbled, as you noted, but
yeah, because we're getting. Can you mute your broadcast? Maybe that'll cut it out. A question.
Okay, I think we're muted.
Okay.
Oh.
Yep, that worked. I think it worked.
I'm going to mute you now.
Terrific. That's perfect. So you can
muted him.
nod, yeah.
I'm so confused. I muted you instead of us.
There we go. How are we doing now?
Oh yeah, I was thinking weird.
We're just getting a lot of feedback. Seems better now. Yeah, this is great. Perfect. Okay, so now that we're through the video, that was just an introduction to some of the ideas that come through the Big Ideas Contest. Very broad, lots of different ideas, lots of different categories for students to submit ideas to, so that's really what I wanted to get across with that video. Now I want to introduce Jenna Hahn, who's our lead graduate student who helps me coordinate the Big Ideas Contest. She's going to quickly run you through sort of the timeline for Big Ideas, what you need to have in a pre-proposal application. This will be the first time we'll mention the deadline, which is November 13th at noon Pacific time on November 13th. So that's the deadline. We'll probably say it 4 or 5 more times before the end of this. But I want to turn it over to Jenna Hahn now, and I'll go back to the PowerPoint.
Okay, great. Thank you, Philip. All right, hello everyone. as Philip said, I am a graduate student here at Berkeley, and I will be hopefully a resource to many of you. There's also 3 other graduate students, and each of us will be hosting all sorts of resources available to you, such as advising hours or Skyping sessions, things like that, really in any way that we can be of help to you, whether it means going through your any idea that you have or your proposals, things like that. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the rules and everything, and then some of the requirements for your actual proposals. So in order to be eligible for this contest, you need to make sure that you follow all of the official rules. We do go through each of the proposals and make sure that it is vetted first before giving it to each of our judges. So first, and really most importantly, is that each team has at least one member be an eligible student at the campus that you are applying to that category for. And like Philip mentioned before, if you're hoping to apply for a category that is not one of the 5 open to the HESN, then you're more than welcome to partner with students on another eligible campus. Next, the idea really must be student-led. We are not looking for ideas of a continuation of faculty or staff or different companies. This really should be coming from campuses and be new and innovative. That doesn't mean that you can't tap into faculty or staff for extra advice, but it shouldn't be their idea or their lab-led. Student teams also can only submit to one category, just to keep things fair. You can't be applying to all of them. But one thing to note is occasionally we do have students who have multiple ideas, and that's okay. If they're unique, they can propose a different idea in multiple categories. That just means creating more than one proposal, obviously. Also, student teams cannot seek funding for big ideas for projects that have previously won unless you are applying to scaling up. So that probably doesn't apply to most of you unless obviously our winners from last year decide to come back. And then lastly, the team lead or the primary applicant will be our main point of contact. So we usually are sending out updates via email. And so instead of sending to your entire team of say 8, it'll be to that one main person. And something to note about this as well is that if you're chosen as a finalist and then awarded money, this team lead will have the final authority in determining the prize disbursement options, because there's a couple different venues of ways to receive funds. So those are kind of the official rules, but each category has category-specific ones, and so we really encourage you to look at the website and make sure that you are eligible and following all the guidelines for that specific category. And as Philip had mentioned, each one is intended to be broad, but you do still want to make sure that you fall within that appropriate category. Projects that are too far out of realm may not be received well by judges and therefore would be reflected in your score. So I'm going to walk you through our timeline. It's really almost a year-long process. Right now we're in the pre-proposal stage with launching our competition in early September the 2nd, and last week we had our first information session, which is available online, and it's everything that's covered today will be covered on there, but if you wanted to get this again, you are more than welcome to go check out that video or tune in on October 9th at 6:30 Pacific time, and again, that will be broadcasted live and put on as a recording. We also offer a lot of different resources during this stage to help teams take their idea out of their head and put it onto paper, a lot of times for the first time. So we offer writing and budgeting workshops on October 22nd and November 3rd.
And along with that, Leslie, you and I can coordinate a time so that we can do one privately, exclusively for Texas A&M students along the way, probably closer as we get to the proposal deadline in October.
Absolutely. And then also a great last-minute opportunity is our editing blitz, which is the night before the deadline on November 12th, and you'll be able to schedule in appointments and have your proposal vetted and read by all sorts of advisors and experts on campus. But all throughout until November 13th, we really welcome advising with the 4 of us GSRs as well as different people at our center, and you can schedule that by sending us an email, and we can set up a Skype office hour with you or a phone call, or just if it's a quick question, we're more than happy to answer anything over email. And to do that, you just send an email to bigideas@berkeley.edu.
One thing I just want to emphasize that Jenna's saying is that big ideas, we really sort of want to help students develop those ideas. We want to provide resources to them. So we encourage you to attend writing workshops when you can. We will have one for Texas A&M. We have our advisors here. We have an email address. We want to support you in any way we can with as much advice as you can need along the way. So please contact us at bigideas@berkeley.edu if you have any questions at all or want any support with your proposal.
And again, just to point you back to the website, brief bios on what we are each interested in for the graduate students is listed along with our office hours, and so that way if you're working on a particular project that one of us has expertise in, we welcome you to talk to them directly. But again, all of us are open, and as many eyes on your proposal is always welcomed. So there's no limit to how many times we can review something or meet with you, so please do take advantage of that. We're here to help you. And then most importantly, the pre-proposal deadline is Thursday, November 13th at 12 p.m. noon Pacific Standard Time. And this is something we really want to reiterate, especially to our partners in different states. This is Pacific time, so please do not turn it in late. Okay, and so from there, teams will be notified in early December if you are chosen as a finalist. And anyone chosen to be a finalist will participate in a mentorship phase where student teams fill out an interest form and what kind of person they would love to have help them move their idea to the next level. And so what we do here, last year my role I really was finding the perfect match for teams. And so you would say what you would have in your ideal mentor, and my job was to go out and find that person in that field who can help you along for about 8 weeks, probably about 2 to 4 hours a week. And it's really up to the teams to initiate the first contact and establish what kinds of relationships you want, things like that. But this is usually reported as one of the most useful resources that Big Ideas provides, just because it's a one-on-one with an expert in the field. So we highly encourage you to participate in that. So from there, the full proposal, after your help with your mentor and ongoing Big Ideas support, the full proposals are due March 10th at 12 p.m. again. And then that just brings us through the judging period, and teams will be notified in April, and all of our big celebrations and everything like that will be held in early May. So that really falls throughout our entire school year. Philip, do you have something to add?
No, I want to ask, you could take yourselves off mute at this point if you have any questions at all about the timeline before we get into the pre-proposal elements. Any questions? Okay, I'll take that as a no.
Okay. Well, wait. I'm looking for the mute button. Do you have any questions about that?
Yeah. Well, I have a specific question about competitiveness of a proposal. Does it have to, should we have in mind what we can do with money if we were awarded it?
Can you repeat that, Leslie?
She's wondering if there needs to be some sort of budget included in the proposal, like if they need to have a plan for what they would do with the money if they won it.
That's a timely question. That's what we're getting into right now.
Yes. So I'll jump right ahead. They're getting ahead of us. So are there any other questions regarding the timeline, or should I go into the proposal elements?
I think you can go to proposal elements.
Okay, perfect. So of course, your project will need a title, and what the proposal itself should be is a 5-page single PDF document, including a budget, which I'll go into, and a timeline, but this will not include references, and in the first round, appendices are not allowed, so that's really important. A lot of teams often get confused and will include an appendix, and that's actually not allowed for this round. So please, single-spaced, 5 pages, Times New Roman. All of these are on the website as well. And so for each of the elements, different than the last one I was doing, sorry. So you'll need a title, and then what's not listed right on here, in the project description, this is actually 3 parts. We have 2 short descriptions, which will not be included in the 5 pages of the actual proposal, but on the web form application, you'll need to prepare a 50-word description and a 300-word summary, and these, unless you check otherwise, will be of use for us for public dissemination. So if there's anything that you're worried about in terms of intellectual property or confidentiality, just make sure you know that these could be potentially publicized, things like that, unless you let us know otherwise. So just be working on those as well, because they will be included in all sorts of information packets and help us describe it to judges. And so for the actual proposal itself, you'll need a project description, which is usually between 1 to 2 pages, and that's just a summary of your project, really the nuts and the bolts of everything, and how you're planning to do what you're going to do, the implementation, things like that. You'll also need a needs statement, and this is really setting the foundation for why your project is important and establishing that there is a need and that the project would be addressing that directly.
And the other component of that, which I've seen a lot of students sort of go askew on, is knowing the landscape that you're working in, knowing what interventions are out there already in the field, what's in existence, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and why your intervention, why your technology, whatever it may be, surpasses what's already there. So make sure you've done that landscape research, because I often see the judges' comments reflect, a statement such as, have they heard about X project that's doing very similar work in that region? So just make sure you know what other companies, organizations, nonprofits, whatever, are working in that area on similar issues, on similar technologies, on similar interventions, and make sure you emphasize that in your proposal and why yours surpasses it.
And just to tie into that as well, showing that you have community buy-in or interest is also really important. Not so much in the pre-proposal, but it's always doesn't hurt to include. That will be one of the judging points in the final round. So just start thinking about that now. If there's key contacts you should be getting a hold of, or testimonials, things like that, just to lend credibility to your project and that it would be accepted and appropriate in where you're hoping to work. So to move on, you also need to include a 1-year timeline, and that's usually about a half of a page long, and that's to describe the next key steps for implementing your idea, but really focusing on the first year only. You might have intentions to scale up later, and you can speak to that briefly, but make sure to just focus on the first year of implementation, because that's what you will be judged on. From there, you also need to include a list of team bios. This is usually about a half page, and again, when I'm listing page lengths, everything is a suggestion. We give that to help teams guide themselves, because it is such a short pre-proposal, and so it's more of a guideline, but if you feel you want to put something in, please feel free. So the team bios, you need to discuss all your team members and the skills that will make you relevant to making this project into reality. And if you don't have your entire team built out at this point, that's totally okay. You can just say, for example, if you need a web developer, you can list that, the skills that they would bring to the project, and then you can say that you're actively seeking that person.
Yeah. For the team bio section, it's really important to show that you thought of the relevant skill sets you would need to implement the project. As Jenna mentioned, we don't need to know that you have each and every person on board, but you should know what skill sets you need to implement the project, and you should have a plan for recruiting or attaining that skill set if you don't already have it.
Absolutely. And just because you are so tight on length, I would discourage heavily including things like hobbies or things like that. Every year we get someone mentioning they like long walks on the beach, so just try to keep it relevant to the project. And then lastly, we have that you need to include a 1-year budget that goes along with your 1-year timeline. Again, just to reiterate, you're not thinking 5-10 years out at this point. You're really focusing on that first year of getting it off the ground. And we have a budget template on our website, and we highly encourage you to use this. And to some it might be confusing at first, but we're more than happy to walk you through it. And what that does is it provides the guidelines for you of a revenue stream and where your money will be going, things like that, really creating a line item. And here it's just really important to think through every kind of cost you would need to implement this. That might mean travel, that might mean supplies or training, things like that. And we're more than happy to review, because this is oftentimes a lot of places where teams get docked because judges will see that you might not be including something that would be really pertinent to your implementation. And just to mention that Big Ideas Awards are usually about $5,000, but you can request up to $10,000, and that doesn't mean that your total budget has to be maxed out at $10,000. You could potentially have a project that needs $45,000 in the first year, and that's okay. You just need to be mentioning other sources of income to help provide funding. That could be personal contributions or other competitions that you might be thinking about entering. You don't need to have those locked down now. You just need to show that you're working through how you would be meeting that big budget at the end. But like I said, Big Ideas Awards are no more than $10,000, so just be aware of that up front.
The one thing I will also say with that is, as Jenna mentioned, the budget form has both a revenue section and so what you need to do is you need to be able to address the gap. You have to be able to say, okay, if I'm getting $10,000 from Big Ideas and the total award is $45,000, it's, as Jenna mentioned, it's crowdfunding campaigns, it's other grant opportunities, it's other funding opportunities that need to be explained in the revenue section.
Yes, absolutely. And so after you've created your perfect 5-page proposal, I'm sure all of you are wondering how you're actually judged. And we pull judges from all over the country and world with expertise or direct business experience in all of the different categories. And so they really are knowing what it takes to get these ideas going. And they'll be judging you mostly in the first round on your creativity of the idea. And then as we shift to the final round, that's when it really we ask teams to tease out more of the details of how it would be viable and implementable. So as you can see here, creativity is obviously the biggest portion at 40%, and then the close second is addressing a pressing social problem, and that's where you really need to make your case and foundation in your needs statement. So relevant statistics, quotes from people who are supporting you, background information, things like that. From there, we have 4 different categories that are at 10% each with a preliminary budget, your project viability, professional quality, that's just overall how you present your idea. And this is actually really important because a lot of teams have great ideas and they don't always describe it or present it in the most telling way. And so that's why another reason we really promote having you send us your proposal, letting us work through it with you, so that way we make sure it's going to appeal to the judges while still staying true to your vision. And then also judges will be asked a category-specific question. And if anyone is applying to scaling up, this will be focused more on projects progress to date.
And the one thing I'll go back and mention with that is you can see from the scoring rubric, it's all about innovation, it's all about creativity, it's all about, is this going to have a social impact? When we get to the final round, we really flip that on its head. For the finalists, we will ask, is it viable? Will it have impact? Will it be sustainable? So for the first round, though, we're really looking for new, original, creative proposals that address the social challenge. When we get to the later rounds, if you're a finalist, we'll turn that around and we'll ask, is it viable? Will it have impact?
Awesome. Okay, so that's our basic overview of just the rules and everything you need to include. But like Philip has said and I've mentioned, we are more than happy to answer any kind of questions right now, or if you think of them later, maybe that are more specific to you. We have our email anytime, and you can go to our website too to check out more information, find out more information about all the graduate students and what we have expertise in, things like that. So I'd like to open it up to the crowd and ask if you have any questions.
Yep. Are there any questions at this point, Leslie?
Yes, we do have some questions.
Do you have any limit of how many pre-proposals pass to the second stage, or just as long as they are good and they accomplish everything?
Yeah, I think I heard the question. How many pre-proposals get through to the final stage and all that?
Correct.
Okay, so we don't know necessarily for this year, but what I can give you is the numbers from last year. Last year we got 187 proposals across 9 categories. 53 made it to the final round, and about 42 got funding. So that was roughly the breakdown. What we typically see is about a third of the proposals that enter make it through to the final round, and then the number of winners isn't set for each category. What we like to do is we like to look at the amount of funding available and fund as many viable proposals as we can. So what we do in each category, we'll have between 4 and 6 winners in each category, and they're usually awarded an average of about $5,000, but it can increase up to $10,000 or it could be $1,000. So somewhere in that range.
Right.
Yeah.
I was wondering about this. You said earlier that if you've already won something, then you can't apply for funding from Big Ideas. But if we're applying for another one, for another competition, just to be able to fund the project together, is that okay?
That's perfectly fine. We have a lot of projects that are competing in multiple competitions at the same time. Just what we don't like to see, what we've seen in the past, is students will submit the same application to one competition as they submit to Big Ideas. Make sure that you address the prompt, make sure that it fits the Big Ideas scope for what we're looking for in a pre-proposal. But by all means, yeah, you can have the same project and apply to different competitions as long as it fits within the category of Big Ideas and fulfills those pre-proposal application requirements that Jenna mentioned.
And as far as other competitions go, that can also help fill that gap in your funding. So like we said, $10,000 can come from Big Ideas, but you might be planning to apply to other competitions or just have one. If you've won something in the past and now it's a full-scale venture, for example, that's where we discourage teams not to participate. But what we do see is a lot of teams participate in startup competitions and then bring that same idea to Big Ideas because it's still early on and it's still changing and they're still looking to grow and just really, it's still in the ideation phase, really. So.
Okay. Any other questions at this point? If not, we'll show you the website really quickly, and I can run you through a few things there.
Do you have a question about like who could be on your team?
Well, it has to be students.
No.
Not necessarily.
So only one person on a team needs to be a matriculated student. So that means at the time of your pre-proposal being due, that project team lead would be a student enrolled at the campus that's eligible for that category. So that can mean that you work with students at other campuses if they're interested, or it can mean that you're working with people who have maybe graduated and are working in the field, things like that. Whatever is really most useful to you. But the biggest point that we want to reiterate is that if you are working with people who are maybe professionals, that this comes from you and not from faculty or a professional, that it's really student-led. But it's totally okay to have non-students on your team.
Yeah. For instance, last year, the project that won from Texas A&M was a group of 3 students, one from Texas A&M, one from Kansas State, and one from Purdue. And they were already working with some partners in rural Tibet. So that is perfectly acceptable, as long as it's student-led and that the project will be run by students and with the idea of students.
Is there another question over here? Any other questions at all?
Okay.
And just to build on what Jenna and Philip have been saying, one of the ideas I think this is such a cool opportunity for students is because you have so much support. I mean, look at they're Google Hangout chatting with us right now, answering all our questions. They have these writing seminars, webinars that you can participate in. You get a mentor if your project passes through the pre-proposal stage. So if you have a good idea, this is an actual way you can make it happen. That's why I think it's so exciting, and I'm really trying to promote it and do as much as I can to get you guys involved. So.
Yeah, and I think that mentorship component is something that we got to emphasize again. The team that won from Purdue last year, we actually had a remote mentorship. We had somebody here who was a 30-year Peace Corps volunteer who's now teaching on the Berkeley campus, working with the students from Texas A&M remotely. He's still very active, very involved in the project, even though his mentorship period has run out. He's still very connected with that project. He's still supporting the student in every aspect of the project. So you get some great mentors, and sometimes you get some great partners out of the process.
And just to add on to that, I actually have a few people that I talked to who were recruited as mentors, both professionals and professors here at Berkeley and other campuses, who are actually now, when students have developed their company or nonprofit, they're actually now on the boards, and so they are, again, continuing their role. It's not just a one-time helping students out, but they still are actively very involved in giving their expertise because they see the passion, they see the innovation for the idea, and so they want to continue being involved.
And then the last point I'll raise kind of goes alongside that, is the validation factor. Students get into the competition because there's funding. By the time they've run through the Big Ideas competition, they've gotten the validation that's come from going through an academic year-long competition, and this is something that probably is even more impactful in the long run than the money, because you're able to go out there, go to investors, go to partners, and you have the support of a competition like Big Ideas at Berkeley, which is pretty well known now, and go to say, my proposal was vetted by, 50 different judges. I was deemed to be a finalist. I was deemed to be a winner. And that validation, taking that into a room, gives you both the confidence and gives the investor the confidence in you. So want to definitely raise that point. And then last thing I want to do, if there's no more questions, is run you through the website really quickly. Oh, we got one more.
Do all team members have to be U.S. citizens?
Leslie, can you repeat that?
Do all team members have to be U.S. citizens?
No, not necessarily. In fact, some of the eligible campuses now are in Uganda and in Australia. So you don't have to be a U.S. citizen. You just have to, partner with a student from an eligible campus. One of the criteria is that should you win a prize, the funding has to go to that, or has to be determined by the student from the eligible campus. So it might be harder to get funding to a student from another campus that isn't part of HESN or something like that. But yeah, it's okay to have that. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. We're ready.
We're going to run you through the website here really quick so you can see what we're looking at. Here. And go here. Is everybody looking at the website now?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the Conflict and Development webpage. When you come to Big Ideas, there's a couple things you want to do. Let's first go to the home page. So it's just bigideas.berkeley.edu. You'll come and you'll see, again, the deadline, November 13th, 12 p.m. Pacific time. You'll see all the categories down here that you can click on. There's an energy category, creative expression, all the various categories. What I want to show you now is Compete, in resources for applicants. As Jenna mentioned, we have all of the advising hours that students can sign up for, and all of the different advisors we have who specialize in various different things. We have people who focus on ICT for D, conflict and development and governance. We have somebody who focuses on East Africa, for instance, and we have a PhD in engineer. So these are people who regularly hold office hours. All you have to do is email us at bigideas@berkeley.edu and let us know when you'd like to sign up and who you'd like to sign up a time for, and we'll definitely organize that for you. And if you can't make any of these times but you really want to speak to one of us, just email us and we'll set up an appointment outside of these office hours.
And like I mentioned before, you're not limited to just a couple times. If you want all of us to review your proposals, things like that, that's more than welcome as well. Just because you have an appointment with me doesn't mean you're not welcome to talk with Lori or Adrian or JC. Totally fine.
Okay. And additional on this, you'll see there's a budget template that you can download. We strongly recommend that folks use this budget template that we have, which is an Excel spreadsheet which has both a revenue and budget section. So you should download that, include it in your proposal. We have some examples of past successful pre-proposals to give you a better idea of sort of what the expectations are. And we have frequently asked questions and past winners. So you can go through all that information, and it should give you even a better idea of what goes on with Big Ideas. So there's that. And then when you go to a category-specific page, like let's click on Conflict and Development, because we like that category the most. You'll see now what you can't miss is the big Apply Now button. So as you're developing your proposal, you can start it by clicking on Apply Now, and you can work on it in WiseHive is the contest platform we use. You can use it there. You can save it as a draft. You can do whatever you need to, but then just apply by November 13th. There is a category-specific question in the judging criteria, so make sure that when you're writing your proposal, you address this sort of prompt in whatever category you're applying to. We'll cover sort of why we're offering this category, and then we'll talk about the challenge of the category. So make sure you address that in your proposal. We talk about eligibility, and what we mentioned that you have to have one student from an eligible campus. So each category description has the list of universities that are eligible to apply. For this one, it's UC Berkeley, William & Mary, Duke, Macquarie in Uganda, MIT, Michigan State, and Texas A&M. And then we have examples of past winners that have won in this category. In the past, it was called Human Rights. These projects would probably fit into it, but you should look at those as well. And then last but not least is we have our sponsors with the wrong logo. I'm sorry, Leslie. I'll change that after this. And then we have, the sponsors and any other information you need. So that's how you can log on to the website. You can look at the categories. The last thing I want to mention, which Leslie alluded to at the very beginning, we have this year a new competition that is a side competition to Big Ideas. It's called Blind Spots in International Development. This is something we partnered with USAID. They wanted us to help reach out to students and mission staff, USAID mission staff, and ask them, what are those issues that are going on out there in the world that you've seen that USAID needs to be working on and that can be solved through science, technology, innovation, or strategic partnerships. So this is just a 2,000-word essay competition. The deadline is October 1st. So if you've been out there and you've seen something that isn't working, or you've seen something that needs to be addressed, we're not asking you to necessarily identify the solution. Just let us know what that blind spot is and how, using science, technology, innovation, or strategic partnerships, it can be solved. So more information can be found about that under Compete and Blind Spots Essay Contest, and you can learn a little bit more about that. It will give awards up to $3,000. Just like a Big Ideas contest category, it has a scope, it has some examples. So I urge you to click on that if you're interested and potentially apply by October 1st as well. So with that, I will go back, I will unscreen share. You'll see us again. Here we are.
Yay.
And take any other questions you have.
I have flyers of all these over here, as well as another competition we have here, this Student Media Grants program, which I'll tell you about in a minute.
Oh, and hopefully, Leslie, I don't know if you had a chance to print these out, but we do have our pre-proposal guidelines and application requirements, which is a nice, beautiful handout. I'll do my best Vanna White here, which has a timeline, has all the rules, eligibility requirements. So you can get that on our website, or hopefully, Leslie, you can hand that out to students.
I was trying to tell them that, but I did not unmute myself, so you didn't know I was trying to say it. But that's what I was telling y'all. We tried to print out beforehand, but we couldn't get it quite done, so we have a link. And I think Jonah sent it to you all. Yeah. But it is a very nice looking brochure.
Yes, if you learn how to fold it correctly, which it took me some time, but.
All right, anything else?
Yeah. So how do we start forming our team?
Oh, she wants to know how to start forming her teams.
No.
That's a great question.
Yeah, and I don't know how you guys do it, but what I was thinking is I was telling y'all earlier, and some other people that were here earlier in the, before the meeting started, I'm thinking next week possibly to have sort of a team mingling event. So if you're looking for someone specifically from some certain discipline, hopefully they will come to this little mingling event. I have some contacts I've made with the engineering department. So I wanted to bring them in. We have Bush School. We have School of Public Health. If there's someone specifically that you're looking for, some expertise, let me know, and I'll try and contact that department. But that's sort of what I'm thinking about doing maybe at the end of next week. And I'll probably try and get a time from you all here for those that are looking for team members. How do you guys do it there?
We have a couple events. Unfortunately, they're hard to include remotely. So we have a Innovators at Cal event where we have a high-profile speaker come and talk about their startup ideas, and then we spill out and we have team mingling, mixing by sort of sector or issue group. So we have that going on the Berkeley campus. We also have an idea generation dinner here on the Berkeley campus where students can come. It's over dinner, and they just get up and they each have 2 minutes to pitch their idea, and they have 2 minutes to get rapid feedback on their idea from the students that are also attending. And then we spill out into a mixer so students can talk to other students about the great ideas they just heard. So we have those two types of events. One thing that we can do with Texas A&M or any other students remotely is if you have a great idea and you're looking for students from other campuses to participate, send us a short description of your project and sort of the skill set that you're looking for. We post it to our social media. We can tweet about it, connect them to you that way. So we're happy to do that. And then, yeah, I think the other way is just we can give you tips on how to market your idea and where to go look for students. And I'm sure, Leslie, you can help. You know, if a student comes in looking for a computer programmer, you know where to go on your campus to help them look for it. And then the onus is sort of up to the student to help build their team from there. But, you know, we can help direct you to the right channels to help you find students.
Right. Well, very cool. Okay. If you guys have ideas, let me know. I'm always open and looking for new fun ways of doing stuff.
Us too.
That's why we're a good team. All right. Well, I think that was fantastic. Thank you guys both so much. That was a great presentation, super clear. And hopefully we'll have another winning team in this room here.
Hopefully, yeah. You got to repeat now. You got a grand prize.
Yeah, grand prize. If you're invited to participate, you're actually guaranteed money. you are guaranteed either up to $1,000 to $5,000, $5,000 for first place, $3,000 for second, and $1,000 for third place. There's 2 different categories. And so if your idea really raises to the surface as one of the most promising, you can be invited to that. And as we saw last year, had an extreme winner in all categories.
Yeah, and it's top 6 winners across big ideas. So last year there were 42 winners. 6 were invited to pitch day.
One was Texas A&M team, just remember.
Repeat.
That's right. All
Okay.
right.
Thanks everybody for attending. Thank you, Leslie, for setting this up. And if you have any questions, please contact us at bigideas@berkeley.edu.
Sounds great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Leslie.